To prosecute two journalists under Section 111, a charge reserved for serious organized crimes. A show cause notice is issued to the investigating officer. The BJP holds protests in Tamil Nadu over the alleged Tasmac liquor scam. BJP leader Tamilisai Soundarajan is held by the police. The BJP alleges the scam is involving over 1,000 crore. Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV. I'm Gargi Rao. There are top story now. South African cricket player Corbin Bosch has been served a legal notice by the Pakistan Cricket Board alleging a breach of contract after he pulled out of the Pakistan Super League. Let's go across to Rika for more. And Rika, he's pulled out of the Super League and signed up instead for the IPL.
That's right. Well, he was picked up by the Pakistan Super League franchise, Peshawar Zalmi, through the PSL draft, which happened in January. But in March, early March, he signed for Mumbai Indians, perhaps because Lizard Williams pulled out, and he's an all-rounder who was picked up by the Mumbai Indians for 50 lakh rupees. That slot fell vacant after Williams reported injured, and Mumbai Indians was looking for a replacement, and he fielded his name. Mumbai Indians agreed to it, so they have now signed up with Mumbai Indians, following which Pakistan Cricket Board has sent a legal notice to Corbin Bosch's agent. There are talks within the Pakistan Cricket Board circles to even ban this all-rounder from South Africa, but that's not that's not been settled as of now. For now, they have asked him for an explanation. He has pulled out of the PSL. Of course, one of the reasons that has been cited is that he's been given more money. He got more money from Mumbai Indians. The other thing is about being associated with the brand Mumbai Indians. The Pakistan Cricket Board, in order not to have a conflicting auction, they had postponed their auctions after the IPL, to have it after the IPL auctions, IPL season 18 auctions. So they had theirs in January, and the IPL auctions happened in 2020 for November, so that they knew what kind of players they are getting. There are several high-profile players like David Warner who've signed up for playing the Pakistan Super League. Interestingly, this time around it runs concurrently with the Indian Premier League, thereby denying opportunity to some of the best of the world talent to appear in Pakistan's league, because they will all be seen in the IPL during that time.
Right. So this was not known earlier that both the leagues would be concurrent. Is it, Rika, as you said, the auctioning was done, separately during separate periods? And what happens in a situation like this? Who really decides, if the Pakistan Cricket League is suing him? Who decides what, action or not would be taken?
Well, Gargi, you see, the Pakistan Cricket Board has sent him a legal notice. The legal action will be initiated against the player, but it is at the end of the day the player's decision to play in one league and not to play in another league. If he pulled out midway, there would have been greater repercussions, because then, he would have had to be paid on pro rata basis. But this is right at the beginning of the tournament, so it seems a lot less complicated. At the end of the day, it's the player's decision. Look, these players are freelancers. They have the power, they reserve the right to decide which team, not which team, but which league to play in. In the earlier occasion, the Pakistan Cricket Board had held this tournament in the February-March window, but the February-March window was also conflicting with at least 3 other leagues that were happening at that time, just ahead of the IPL. But this time they decided that they will run it concurrently with the IPL, having known what kind of talent will be available in their pool.
All right. Thanks so much, Rika, for joining us with all those details. Well, moving on to some breaking news now coming in. The Supreme Court today dealing with a petition on the CAG Comptroller and Auditor General selection panel has now issued a notice to the centre on the basis of this PIL that seeks an independent panel for the CAG selection. This plea said to include the Chief Justice of India in the selection panel for the CAG. Given the kind of influence and power a CAG has, this petition brought before the Supreme Court saying that the Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition and Chief Justice should be a part of the panel. So it is not just one way, it's not stacked in favor of the government. The Supreme Court today issuing a notice to the Union government on this petition, which is seeking an independent and a neutral method, really, if you have the Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition and Chief Justice on the said panel, is what the PIL is saying, is that the process will be independent and more neutral rather than it having being stacked in a particular way. So the government will have to answer after this PIL was brought before the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, they're issuing a notice to the government on this petition. All right, moving on to some news coming out from Jammu and Kashmir, where the police have filed an FIR against a social media influencer, Orhan Avatramani, or better known as Orry, and 7 other people for allegedly consuming alcohol in a hotel in Katra. Remember, this is the base of the Mata Vaishno Devi Shrine, and this is a restricted area, really. So an FIR against the social media influencer. Let's go across to Nazir now for more. Nazir, we're seeing that video on our screens right now, and this is the video that led the police to file this FIR?
Exactly, and it went viral, and people were questioning how come these people or essential people are being to do this in a separate place. No one can think of, consuming alcohol or eating non-vegetarian in Katra. That is, perhaps it has never happened, never. So it is a place where you have to understand the sensitivity and the sanctity of the place. That's why police have filed an FIR against Orry and 7 other people who are seen in this group, in this individual. And you can see that there's a party, there's a table where the bottles, the wine bottles are there. So police have filed FIR against them, violating the rules of this place and hurting the sentiments of the people. We don't know when Orry would be called for the questioning or he would be arrested. That's not known, but police have said action will be taken in this case because this whole video went viral. And, there's no ban on alcohol in Jammu and Kashmir, but there are places like Katra and other places. You go there as devotees go there, 25 to 30,000 people on average. Devotees come to Mata Vaishno Devi, and Katra is the base camp where they start. They just trekking the mountain, go to the cave shrine. And this is the last thing anybody would think that somebody would come and consume alcohol there or taking of non-vegetarian there. So having said that, police have been very swift in filing an FIR. We'll have to see what action will follow.
Right, given that this went viral and it's clearly there in a hotel in Katra, which is, as you said, Nazir, a restricted site. It's near the Mata Vaishno Devi Shrine, at the base of it. Also, do we know when this took place? Because it's only after the video went viral that there's been outrage over the consumption of alcohol so blatantly in this restricted area, and then the police taking action and filing this FIR. But clearly the entire group, it's Orry and 7 others, have left the area now.
Yeah, exactly. Like 3-4 days back, we saw this video circulating on social media. But then it was not clear whether it's actually there. But after verifying, police have now filed FIR that this consumption of this alcohol has taken place in a hotel in Katra. Based on that, police have filed an FIR against Orry and 7 other people. We'll have to see what action will be taken. Will they be called to Katra police station for the questioning? Will they be arrested, or whatever action would be as per the law will be taken against them? But this clearly shows that while the devotees, they come here, some people actually, they walk thousands of kilometers to reach, because that is the sanctity of Mata Vaishno Devi Shrine, to reach there. And someone coming and consuming alcohol there, and that video goes viral. So clearly it has hurt the sentiments, and the police has been very swift After obtaining the video, verifying it, they have filed an FIR. We'll have to see what action they are going to take now. It may take a few days.
That's right. Nazir, also, Orry, as one knows, is close to several famous people, influential people, powerful people as well, and he would have gone back to Mumbai. So the FIR has been filed, there has been outrage, but really to be seen whether this
is that this is a place which is very, a sacred place. It is a place where people rever, a sacred place. It is a place where people rever this place. Lots of people, around 1 crore people, as I said, around 30,000 people visit the cave shrine every day. And during the Navratra days, lot more people are coming. So this is one of the most sacred places, religious place in the country. And that is why police they understand the sensitivities and the sentiments of the people. And they have taken action, they have filed an FIR. As I said, we have to wait. Based on the investigation, police they will take strict action, as it has heard the sentiments of the people and it has violated the rules of this place.
All right, Nazir. So Orry and 7 others booked by the Jammu and Kashmir police for allegedly consuming alcohol in that restricted area near the Mata Vaishno Devi shrine. Thanks so much, Nazir, for joining us there with the latest. News now from Telangana, where a Hyderabad court has struck down the Telangana police's attempt to prosecute 2 journalists under Section 111 of the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, a charge which is reserved for serious organized crimes. The managing director, Revati Pogadanda, managing director of YouTube news channel Pulse Digital News Network, and Thanvi Yadav were an employee, were arrested earlier this month for allegedly circulating defamatory content against the Telangana Chief Minister Revant Reddy. Remember, NDTV has been reporting on this story of a journalist really being punished for criticizing the Chief Minister. Revati had posted a video on her channel showing an elderly farmer making allegedly derogatory remarks against the Chief Minister. A case was then lodged based on a complaint from a Congress worker. Well, let's go across now to Uma Sudhir for the very latest. And Uma, here, a setback in a sense to the police who's investigating this matter, with the court actually striking down the attempt to prosecute them under this section, which is only reserved for serious organized crimes, and also a notice issued to the officer leading the investigation.
Ajit, this is part of the remand report that was given by the court on the day that these journalists were arrested. This is 3 days ago, and we now have a copy of the remand report, which specifies that while the sections under Section 67 of the Information Technology Act, as well as the sections of 353 and 362 and other sections are applicable, they have said that Section 111, which deals with organized crime and which talks about paying of monetary compensation for this kind of an activity, that does not apply here, and therefore that section needs to be struck down. What's interesting is that under that section, 5 years or more would have been the punishment, whereas the other sections that we are talking about, the sentence, the punishment is only about 2 to 3 years or so, which means that even though they are non-bailable sections, this kind of an arrest need not have happened. The second part is the last comment to the order report that the court has given, the remand report, in which they have said that the investigating officer has been issued a show cause notice and given 3 days time to reply on 2 things. One, about the irregularity in the conveying of her arrest, in the intimation of her arrest to the family members, and 2, the manner in which the policeman had gone without uniform and had landed at the journalist's home early in the morning. So those irregularities are something that have come in for question, because the lawyer for Revati and Tanvi has argued that this is a politically motivated case, and that is the reason why this kind of irregularities had happened, and she had been arrested by the Telangana police, despite his claim that they should not have been arrested in these circumstances. Back to you.
Right, Uma, and it comes at a time when we're seeing journalists, in different parts of the country also being targeted for their journalism. In fact, the Chief Minister has come under criticism over this, but he lashed out in the Assembly and has even hinted at a new law to regulate journalism.
Yes, the Chief Minister in fact used very strong words in the Assembly, where he said that there should be a distinction between people who are calling themselves journalists, rather posing as journalists, and that they are not journalists. There could be social media trolls is what he's suggesting, and he's saying that he will deal with journalists differently and with those people who are not journalists differently, and he wanted media organizations to identify who is a journalist and who is not a journalist. One must point out that within the purview of the law, all citizens have an equal right, and it is not as though journalists have any special rights, except that they do have special responsibilities in terms of what they put out in the public domain.
Uma, thanks so much for joining us with those details. Let's now go across to my colleague Vishnu Som for an exclusive interview with Tulsi Gabbard.
The India-US strategic partnership is one that's been developing now over the last several decades, and there's a great sense of optimism over here in India that it is headed in a particular direction. To tell us a little bit about that, and there are so many important global events taking place, Tulsi Gabbard with us, the Director of National Intelligence. It's wonderful to have you here in India, and thank you so much for speaking to us. In terms of the strategic relationship and the intelligence arrangements between India and the United States, to what extent is it premised on perhaps an expansionist or an expanding China and the Asia-Pacific region?
You know, the ties between our two countries, the United States and India, go very, very far back. And so what we're continuing to see is a strengthening of that partnership and recognizing that the mutual interests of both of our countries are centered around peace, prosperity, freedom, and security. So now as we see a new administration coming in with President Trump's leadership in the United States, of course, Prime Minister Modi's long-standing leadership here in India, we have two leaders of our two great countries who are very good friends and who are very focused on how we can strengthen those shared objectives and those shared interests.
So in a sense, it's taking forward what we already have in terms of the strategic partnership, and that's one of your primary goals, right?
It is.
And how were your meetings to that end?
It is. I've been having great meetings, and of course this began with Prime Minister Modi's visit to President Trump in Washington, D.C., very shortly after he was inaugurated back into office for a second term, where they really set the tone and set the vision for where a stronger U.S.-India partnership and friendship can lead to. And so my visit here is really predicated on the work that has already been done, and I've been having great conversations with my counterparts here in the Indian government. I just met with the Minister of Defense a few minutes ago, and looking forward to visiting with Prime Minister Modi here later today.
And you met the Prime Minister in Washington as well some time back. How did that go? I mean,
it was,
we saw the pictures.
It was great. I had the opportunity to meet him several years ago. It was good to see him again, and it was actually very perfectly timed, where it was maybe 1 or 2 hours after I was officially sworn into this position as Director of National Intelligence that he arrived in Washington, D.C. and had the opportunity to welcome him back to the United States.
One of your primary concerns and one of your primary responsibilities is to deal with the threat of terror. And at the moment, we see a great deal of that out of Yemen. We see attacks on shipping taking place, and we see the United States being very much on the offensive. Is that a prelude for something larger, perhaps even a ground offensive going forward?
I mean, you look at President Trump's leadership going back through his first term as president, he has been and remains very committed to combating and defeating the threat of Islamist terrorism that not only affects the United States, the American people, our own safety and security, but it is affecting so many people in different parts of the world. We can see different terrorist groups, the Houthis in Yemen being one of them, that President Trump has redesignated after President Biden took them off of the terrorist list, redesignated them appropriately as a terrorist organization, and taking action where the previous administration failed to.
Right.
The Houthis have been disrupting maritime trade and passage for a very long time, and no serious effort has been taken to stop that disruption. Our country and other countries should not be in a position to have to make a decision to reroute commerce going through that area simply because of the Houthi threat that exists. So President Trump has taken decisive action for our own safety, security, and prosperity. And I know we'll look to other affected countries, as there are many who are impacted by this, to similarly take action.
The other big international talking point is obviously the situation between Russia and Ukraine, and we're all optimistic, and I've covered the war 3 times, on seeing peace in the area. Tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people on both sides have lost their lives. Be that as it may, if President Putin doesn't come on the table with the peace agreement which has been proposed by the United States, can Washington indefinitely keep arming Ukraine and, in a sense, allowing them to continue their fight?
President Trump is seeing this ongoing conflict with very clear eyes. And he has made his position and his priority very clear, which is to bring about an end to this war. So he is focused on peace. The negotiations have just begun. He's looking forward to success in those negotiations, not for himself, but for the cause of peace and to stop the killing of innocent and taking of innocent lives there. So he has the best negotiators working with both the Ukrainians and with Russia and with Putin. And we look forward to seeing the continued progress that we've already seen over a very short period of time. I think it's important to point out that under the previous administration, during which this war began, there was no effort. There was no effort at all towards peace. There was no effort to have direct dialogue with Putin and with Russia to try to bring about an end to this war. So already, in a very short period of time, President Trump has made much more progress towards peace than any effort that has occurred by anyone previously. So we're very encouraged by this progress, and President Trump remains committed to the objective of peace.
How much of what you're talking about now is premised on a successful conversation between President Trump and President Putin? I believe that might take place tomorrow or day after.
Well, as you know, with any of these kinds of negotiations, there's a lot of work that goes between people representing both countries or all of the countries involved in this situation. And at the appropriate time, I'm sure that President Trump will have a very productive conversation with Putin, once again, rooted in his unwavering commitment to peace.
Yeah. Closer to India, Bangladesh, the subcontinent, we've seen a lot of political changes over there, a lot of violence over there, and several reports of attacks on minorities. Is the United States concerned about the situation there and the need for stability at all levels, not just political stability?
Yeah, of course. The long time, unfortunate persecution and killing and abuse of religious minorities, Hindus, Buddhists, Christians, Catholics, and others, has been a major area of concern for the United States government and, of course, President Trump and his administration. The talks are just beginning between President Trump's new cabinet coming in and the government of Bangladesh, but this continues to remain a central focus area of concern, once again, with the threat of Islamist terrorists and their overall effort, the global effort of all of these different groups that are really rooted in their same ideology, their same objective, which is to rule and govern with an Islamist caliphate. This obviously affects people of any other religion other than one that they find acceptable, and they choose to carry this out through very violent and terroristic means. President Trump remains committed once again to identifying this ideology that drives Islamist terrorism, helping to defeat that ideology and defeat their ability to exact that terror on people, the American people and others.
Right. Well, one final question to you. I know you've got a very busy schedule. You are a practicing and a devout Hindu.
Yes.
And you've just missed Holi in India.
Unfortunately.
What does Holi mean to you?
You know, it is a wonderful and colorful celebration of life and really the connection that we all share as people. And this is something from my home in Hawaii, where we greet each other with aloha. Here in India, we greet each other with namaste, but really the deeper spiritual meaning of both of these words is the same in recognizing the eternal and divine spirit that exists within every one of us and that spiritual connection that we have. Right. So for me, at a personal level, this is very, very meaningful, but it's also very practical once again, as our two countries and others in the world should remain focused on our pursuit of peace.
It's wonderful speaking to you. Thank you very much
nice
for speaking
to see you.
Well, there you have it, Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence over here in India. That's broader strategic relationship between India and the US, so very important. But the world is in a difficult situation now, whether it's Yemen, whether it is the situation in West Asia, and certainly Russia, Ukraine, and closer to home in Bangladesh as well. So her thoughts perhaps reflect where the US administration is looking at all of this, and perhaps there is peace in the horizon. Back to the studio.
सैल्यूट है जी। आप देश की रक्षा में जान लगा देते हैं
और आप
घर घर में तार लगाते हैं जी। ई बीम टेक्नोलॉजी से बनी, न जले न पिघले, सबकी रक्षा करे।
हम सरहद पर लोगों की रक्षा करते हैं और आप देश के अंदर। सैल्यूट तो बनता है जी।
अपार अनुशक्ति फायर प्रोटेक्ट वायर, अपार देश का तार।
How often have you turned away from debates that descend into endless fights? We bring you a